Hi everybody, my name is Rheda and this is Health Naturally. Today we're going to talk about lots of different health problems and some of the ways that you can alleviate, maybe make you feel better, and sometimes completely help your body cure these different problems. The first thing we're going to talk about is sinus trouble. Oh, everybody's got sinus trouble, especially in Dallas, Texas. Well, sinus trouble is something that I've had practically my whole life up until a year ago. And I'm sure that many of you out there already know what I'm going to say. But there is a product called MSM, and it will completely stop you from having sinus trouble. About a year ago, hardly anybody knew about MSM. And when I found out about it, a nurse friend of mine told me about it. I used it. It stopped my sinus trouble altogether. I was so excited about it, I called a doctor over near Harry Hines Boulevard that had a clinic over there, and he had mentioned to me some months earlier that if I ever heard of anything that would get rid of sinus problems, that he wanted to know about it. So I called him and he said, "You mean to tell me this gets rid of sinus trouble?" And I said, "It is fantastic. It works for everybody." And he said, "Well, how in the world can it work?" And I said, "Well, it's 34% sulfur, and sulfur is great for killing bacteria, viruses, and parasites, many times fungus and candida. So who knows where sinus trouble comes from? Maybe it's a bacterial infection. Who knows? They say, it's pollen and that sort of thing." So he tried some of it and he called me back in 3 days. He said, "Do you know that I have been trying to get rid of this sinus infection with everything? I have tried drugs, I have tried herbs, I have tried everything. And do you know it's gone?" And I said, "Never heard of a case that it didn't work." And he said, "This stuff is dynamite." And I just really thought that you didn't know what you were talking about. And I said, "Oh yes, I've had sinus trouble for years." Now there's something else that's fairly new on the market. Of course, the MSM has been on the market for 17 years. And in certain parts of the country, people know about MSM, but MSM is relatively new in this part of the country. In fact, several multi-level companies have started selling MSM, and so I think they have done real good in spreading the word about MSM. Although they're a little bit more expensive than the other people who buy it, who sell it. So you might shop around and get the best price, because the price really does fluctuate from inexpensive to expensive. And it's all the same product because it all comes out of the same place. There's only one place in America that makes MSM. There is also a place in Japan that makes it. And Japan has been selling MSM like hotcakes for years because it does so many things. If you'll remember on another broadcast that I made, MSM helps depression. I've never seen a person yet that had depression that it didn't help them. Now, I'm not saying that it cured the depression, but as long as they were taking it, it seemed to resolve the depression problems. But another thing that's good for sinus is beta-1,3-glucan. It's been on the market about 2 years. And what beta-glucan does, it's from the cell wall of Baker's yeast. What it does is it feeds the bone marrow and the thymus gland, and then your bone marrow and your thymus gland produce B cells and T cells, which knock out the different pathogens in the body. It makes lots of white blood corpuscles and knocks out a lot of different things. And I've noticed that what the MSM didn't do, the beta-glucan completely alleviated any kind of sinus problems. Now, many people have asthma. And in fact, a family member of mine had asthma. And I told him about the MSM, and he took it for months. I said, "Don't expect it to work less than a year," because what sulfur does is it kills the candida and fungus in the lungs, but it also regenerates the tissue of the lungs, the tissue of all your body for that matter. That's what sulfur does. And of course, MSM is 34% sulfur. So he took it and he took it and he took it. And after about 5 months, he called me and he said, well, your MSM has cured my asthma. And I said, that's great. I said, I know it's supposed to, but I'm a little bit shocked that it's worked this fast because you had such a terrible case of it. He was taking prednisone and a lot of different drugs before he took the MSM, and nothing was really helping him. So you're very fortunate to know about MSM because it's wonderful for allergies and for sinus. Now also, since we're talking about MSM, many people have what you call candida. Used to, you didn't hear about people having candida, but a lot of people have candida now. And I've had people tell me that since they have been on the MSM, that when they get a candida test, that within a week or two, the candida had disappeared. Now, you have to take enough of it for it to work, to get rid of candida and fungus. I tell people if you have a real bad problem like asthma or candida or fungus, that I have known of people that were given so many antibiotics until their tongue was just white with fungus. You can put a scoop of that MSM on your tongue and swish it around in your saliva, and it will kill the fungus on your tongue and in your throat. And many cancer patients are full of fungus because they've been given so many drugs, and certain drugs cause fungus growth. The medical doctors know that, but sulfa drugs are so dangerous that they usually don't use sulfa. This is not sulfa though, this is sulfur. It's like the sulfur you get in your meat, in cabbage, in echinacea, and golden seal, and other herbs. So it is wonderful for sinus and for asthma and candida. And many women will use, for a douche, they will use like a tablespoon of Clorox in a douche bag of water and use that, and that will kill the candida vaginal. So that's something that you might think about doing too. As far as allergies are also helped by the MSM, but also many times allergies are caused by food like milk, cheese, eggs, wheat, corn, or sugar. And you might find that, in fact, recently I had a man tell me that he stopped drinking milk to get rid of his mucus. He was clearing his throat all the time. And he said that the mucus didn't go away. But when he stopped eating bread made from wheat, that he stopped clearing his throat all the time. The mucus problem went away. So milk isn't always the culprit, but many times it is wheat. So I asked him what kind of bread he ate, and he said he ate spelt bread. S-P-E-L-T. It's, you can buy it in health food stores. It's usually in the frozen section where they freeze certain specialty breads. And there's such a thing as spelt noodles and spaghetti, and then you can buy the spelt flour and make your own spelt bread or spelt noodles as you choose. So that's something a lot of people don't know about, is spelt, which is wonderful if you have food allergies. Recently I was talking to a doctor that told me that many times when people are fat, they don't have environmental illness like people that are thin. And he said the reason why is because people that are thin do not have enough fat to take in the toxins of the environment, where fat people have the toxins go into the fat, and they don't have environmental illness like thin people do. And I think you'll notice that you'll see some people that wear these oxygen masks. They wear these masks. You'll see them in the grocery store and out shopping. They're usually always very thin people. And he says that body fat actually protects you against many toxins, and that also that women, after they pass the middle age, many times will start gaining weight, and that the fat will store estrogen, and then when they lose their natural estrogen producing parts of their body, then they will store estrogen by having fat on their bodies. So those of you who are fat, there is a good reason for it, and we can understand why we were made to gain weight after we pass certain times in our life, and it stores estrogen. So many times it's very difficult to lose weight at that time of life, because we're really supposed to have that extra fat to store the estrogen so that our body will have better amounts of estrogen. So that's something that you might think of. Now, while we're talking about fat, they're finding out that the reason why some people are obese, or some people have an inclination to gain weight more than other people, is some people are intolerant to carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are sugar and breads and rolls and Danish, your carbohydrate foods. Now, we know that all vegetables, everything is a carbohydrate if it's not a protein. So we know that some foods have higher carbohydrates. And what some doctors are suggesting, if you want to go on a low carbohydrate diet, is that you stop eating carrots and white potatoes, that you only eat whole grain bread, that you only eat whole grain pasta, and then you don't eat a whole lot of that, that you don't eat raisins, watermelon, sugar, bananas, or pineapple, because they're very high in sugar. But you can use fructose sugar, which you can buy in bulk at the health food stores, and you can buy it in packets at your regular grocery stores. So you can carry it around with you in your purse or in your pocket, so you can put it in your drinks. Fruit juices are not a very good thing to drink a lot of, because they have too much concentrated sugar. And that's for people who have a weight problem and they can't seem to get their weight down. It's because their carbohydrates turn to insulin in the body and cause us to store more fat in our fat cells. So that's something you might think about. There are books that you can buy on low carbohydrate diets, and many people who have a hard time with carbohydrates take the mineral chromium. They can take 200 micrograms, at least up to 5. There is a doctor that has written a book on it, and he says that you can take up to 200 micrograms of chromium a day. And I know many people that when they take it, it doesn't seem to get rid of their sugar desire, or it doesn't seem to get rid of them wanting sweets, but it does keep their blood sugar from dropping, which is a problem for a lot of people. Their blood sugar drops, and then they get so hungry they can eat you out of house and home. But if you don't have a big appetite and you gain weight easily, then you're probably going to have to stay off of the simple carbohydrate foods, which of course is bread, potatoes, not so much fried foods, because it's not the oil that hurts you, it's the simple carbohydrates. So you can go out and either get in the library or buy from the bookstores books on low carbohydrate diets, and then you eat mostly protein foods, because they know that protein has a particular chemical in it, or whatever you call it. I don't know that it's chemical, but it will actually take the fat out of the fat cells. So that's something. I wish that they would put it in a pill, because then none of us would have a weight problem. So also they are doctors are warning women that if they take estrogen and progesterone, that can put weight on you also. So make sure that you don't use too much estrogen or progesterone. There is a new book on the market that the doctor says that it is progesterone that makes you fat. But I've always heard that it was the estrogen that made you fat. So who knows? Maybe he's right and maybe I'm wrong. But I know to use estrogen and progesterone in moderation if you're fighting a problem with obesity or a little bit overweight. Now, also we were speaking about the chromium, which will help your blood sugar problems. Low blood sugar also is called hypoglycemia, and some people do not have a weight problem, but they still have hypoglycemia. And many times hypoglycemia or low blood sugar will be before you start having problems with diabetes. So if you have low blood sugar, make sure that you try the 200 micrograms of chromium, up to 5 of them a day. You can, take it according to what you feel like is the best dosage for you. And if it helps your blood sugar problem, that means that you need it. Of course, on the hair analysis, which is called tissue mineral analysis that you can have taken, it will tell you whether you need chromium or not. It will show you whether you're low or you're high on your chromium. And most hair analysis show low chromium to no chromium. I know the first time I had a hair analysis, I had no chromium at all. So it's very easy to not get chromium. Also, if you eat a lot of fish, it has a lot of vanadium in it, and a lot of times if you eat a lot of fish, it will lower your chromium. In most vanadium supplements, they will put 200 micrograms of chromium in it because the vitamin companies know, and the mineral, of course vanadium is a mineral, they know that it does delete the chromium in your body. So if you're a big fish eater, you might need chromium. You can tell when you have low blood sugar. You just all of a sudden you just get famished and you're so hungry you can hardly stand it. Now a lot of times if you start the day off with complex carbohydrates like a bowl of cereal or a bagel or toast and jelly, that will cause you to want to eat all day. You should start the day off with like protein foods, like a couple of boiled eggs and a piece of fruit. That's much better for you. Or a little breakfast steak, or a piece of ham and an egg. Try to think of your protein foods mostly. Of course, it's all right to have a slice of bread, but if you eat mostly simple carbohydrates like cereal and toast and jelly or a bagel and something like that, you're really asking for trouble. You'll really crave sweets and crave food all day long. You'll find yourself eating twice as much as you would if you ate mostly protein for breakfast. Another thing, if you put sugar in your coffee, that's also a simple carbohydrate that will cause you to crave sweets. In fact, you could get up and drink nothing but a cup of coffee with a teaspoon of sugar and be starving in 2 hours for something to eat, where if you get the protein breakfast, you'll find yourself not hungry until lunchtime. Many times if people are in a hurry, they can drink a high-protein drink for breakfast. And I had a doctor tell me that the best drink to use for protein is not soy. Don't use the soy because it lowers the thyroid. But he said that the whey protein was the best protein to drink. It's about 27 grams of protein, which is like equal to a steak, and we're mostly supposed to have around 60 grams of protein a day. So you can see that by drinking that for breakfast and then possibly putting some fruit in the drink or eating a piece of fruit with it, you'll find that it will stay with you and your blood sugar won't fall, before lunchtime. So that's something you might want to remember. Also, I was speaking to you earlier about beta-glucan. Beta-glucan has been tested in certain universities, and they say that the beta-glucan heals or causes the body to heal herpes 6. So you need to try that if any of you out there have herpes, because we know that there is no cure for herpes. Now, we know that the beta-glucan doesn't cure the herpes. The beta-glucan raises your immune system and causes you to produce a lot of B cells and T cells, and it's the B cells and T cells that get rid of the herpes. It is not the beta-glucan. Beta-glucan just ups your immune system. Also, many people have trouble with acid reflux. Recently, I have worked with a young lady who has acid reflux real bad, and nothing seems to work for her, and she's very angry and mad all the time because she's in a really bad environment where she can't seem to get out of it. So she has recently been able to get away from that environment, because they know that if you have anger and there's a lot of fussing and arguing, either with friends or family, you will find that it causes your stomach to be acid. And so that's something that you might try to do, is try to resolve whatever situation is causing you to be to have anger and stress and lots of problems, emotional problems like that. And the acid reflux will get much better. Another thing that I've known people to try, she tried this but it didn't work. Another thing I've known people to try is niacinamide. It's a B vitamin, and it's not niacin. Now, niacin flushes you and makes you break out real red all over your body, and it tingles and it burns. It's a horrible feeling. Well, there is a buffered niacin called niacinamide, and you can take that, and it will help acid reflux in many people. And a lot of times people will use baking soda also, and that will calm down the acid reflux. Don't take any antacids except the antacids that are free of aluminum. There are some antacids that have aluminum, and many people, when they get their hair analysis, they find that their aluminum is real high. So be careful about taking antacids for your acid reflux that have aluminum in it. Now, some people have upset stomach from spoiled food, from salmonella, or from bad food. There is a homeopathic remedy that you can get in most health food stores called Nux Vomica, N-U-X, capital V-O-M-I-C-A. And you can buy it in 6X and 30X. I think the 30X is probably the best potency. And if you will take that about every 15 minutes until your upset stomach is gone, usually you won't have to take it over 4 or 5 doses. You're going to be shocked how well it works. In fact, I would never dream of going on a vacation without Nux Vomica, because a lot of times you get water that your stomach doesn't know what to do with, or you get bad food in restaurants when you travel. And another thing that is a problem when you travel sometimes is diarrhea. There is a homeopathic remedy called arsenicum, A-R-S-E-N-I-C-U-M. And it is a homeopathic remedy, and you also can get it in 6X or 30X. Probably the 30X would be your best bet. And you take it every 15 minutes. Usually in 5 or 6 doses, your diarrhea is gone. It is the best thing for diarrhea I have ever seen. It is absolutely fabulous. It would put all the diarrhea medicines out of business if people knew about it. It's very inexpensive. It's around $4 or $5, and it'll last you for years, because you only take 3 little tablets, melt them in your mouth, and you don't wash them down with water or anything. And after 4 or 5 doses, maybe 6 doses, your diarrhea is gone and everything's fine. Even the griping and the pain of the intestinal tract will stop with it. Then there is, of course, you know, we have colds and we have earaches and we have tonsillitis. There is a homeopathic remedy. When you think of a cold coming on, or a sore throat, or you think of tonsillitis or an earache, there is a homeopathic remedy called belladonna. belladonna. It is the most fabulous thing you have ever seen in your life for earaches. I mean, it works on everybody. And all you do is take 3 of the little tablets every 15 minutes until the earache, the tonsillitis, the sudden onset of colds or fevers. It's also wonderful for toothaches. I personally had a toothache. I didn't know that I had a small cavity on the side of one of my teeth several months ago. And at 11 o'clock at night, I started having this toothache, and I thought, oh my goodness, it's Friday night. I won't be able to get to a dentist until Monday. What am I going to do? So I thought, oh, I know what'll help. It'll be belladonna. I took 3 little tablets, which melted on my tongue, every 15 minutes, and in 5 doses, the toothache was gone. And I still haven't had the tooth fixed because I don't have any more pain from it. So I'll get around to it one of these days, but I hate going to the dentist. I don't like to pay the prices it costs, and I certainly don't like to have my teeth drilled on. So I have my wonderful belladonna to take care of that. I don't know whether it stops the infection in the tooth or what, but that's been the end of it, and I haven't had any more problems with it. And I've had other people tell me that it's really helped toothaches and that seems to go away. By the way, if since we're talking about teeth, the MSM that I was talking about for allergies and for sinus problems, if you will brush your teeth with it, it comes in a crystal form. If you will brush your teeth with it, it will stop you from having gingivitis because it kills gingivitis bacteria. And I even knew a woman who brushed with it, and then she took a teaspoon of it a day, and she had let's see, what do you call it? It's in her gums. She had holes in her gums, and her gums had receded. And they told her she was going to have gum surgery to take care of that. And she started taking the MSM, and in 6 months she went back to the dentist, and her gums had grown back. I have seen people actually have their gums grow back in a week. I have seen people's skin firm up in a week if they take enough of the MSM. It is a marvelous product, and once everybody finds out about it, every household will have MSM because it does so many wonderful things. But you see, sulfur does a lot of things, and it is 34% sulfur. You might go to get a nutrition book and read all the different things that sulfur does, and then you'll understand why the MSM works so good for so many things. So remember the belladonna for diarrhea, and remember the nux vomica for upset stomach. Now also, people use the MSM for joint problems. The reason why is because it's very good for inflammation. And many times people, when they lose cartilage, they have inflammation in their joints. Their joints will swell. And I've had people tell me, it doesn't work for everybody, but practically everybody I've known that have used it say it's the most marvelous thing they ever used. That way you don't have to take drugs for the inflammation, because it's wonderful for that. And of course, the belladonna. Anytime you think of pain or inflammation, you think of belladonna also. Now there's a problem that many people have, which is called sciatica. And there is a doctor in East Texas that has a clinic. And last Christmas, right after Christmas, He said that he has dozens of cases that come into him with sciatica problem after Christmas. And he has figured out that the reason why you have sciatica, so much sciatica after Christmas, is because people eat so much sugar. And sure enough, one of my family members happened to call me one time, and she said, "Do you know of anything for sciatica?" And I said, "Matter of fact, I do." And he said that you have to just kind of live it out until you get all that sugar out of your system. And he said that you will find that people who eat a lot of candy have a lot of sciatica problems. And he just found that out for himself because he noticed that after holidays where people eat a lot of sweets is when they come to him with all their sciatica problems. So I wanted to share that with you. Now, my family member went to an orthopedic doctor that she knows, and he gave her a shot. It was some kind of cortisone shot, and that stopped the pain after she only had the one shot, and that stopped the pain. But boy, is she scared to eat a lot of sweets now, because she says she never wants to go through that again. Now, diabetes is a problem for a lot of people, and I've known people to get rid of their diabetes in certain ways. One of them is the MSM. The MSM, there's a man in Oregon who has been selling the MSM for as long as it's been on the market. And he told me, if you know of anybody that has diabetes, tell them to try the MSM. Because he said he's never seen a case of diabetes that it didn't cure if they took it long enough. He said, I'm talking about up to 2 years. I'm not talking about a few weeks. They have to take enough of it, and they have to take it long enough. I personally have never seen it happen because I really don't know of anybody that's had diabetes and tried the MSM, but he absolutely swears by it. Another thing that helps diabetes, and I know that this works because I've had doctors tell me that it works. When you get a hair analysis, you'll find that your manganese and your chromium is low. And when people take the manganese and the chromium to get it up to the balance that it should be, they find that their diabetes disappears. They stop needing insulin, and they don't have a blood sugar problem anymore. It's probably more than likely the chromium that did it. And most of the time, the doctors, there is a book out on a low carbohydrate diet, and the 2 doctors that wrote it said that you should buy chromium GTF. The GTF is glucose tolerance factor. So you can buy the chromium picolinate and the chromium GTF. So try taking the chromium GTF instead of the chromium picolinate if you have a diabetic problem. And then if you can get some MSM, you can try that also. Now, a lot of people have heart arrhythmia, and I've noticed a lot of people that have heart arrhythmias that when they take a tissue mineral test, they are low in magnesium, and after they start taking magnesium, their heart arrhythmias disappear. So that's something that you might investigate and see if that will work also. Of course, a lot of times when you're low in magnesium, you'll also have muscle cramps. You'll be nervous and irritable, and you'll wake up during the night. So if you have all those other symptoms with a heart arrhythmia, more than likely it is a deficiency of magnesium. But you can find out for sure by taking a tissue mineral test. A lot of people have wrinkled skin, prematurely wrinkled skin. And the MSM, I know a man who's in his middle 80s that does not have a wrinkle on his face. And he has been taking the MSM for years. I mean, he doesn't have a wrinkle on his body. And I had to ask him, I said, did the MSM do that? And he said, yes, ma'am. And I take tons of MSM every day. Now, a lot of people can't take a lot of MSM at one time because it'll cause loose bowels. It's not because the MSM is poisonous to you. It's just that your body can't tolerate that much in at one dosage. I know a lady that took a tablespoon 3 times a day, and she called me in a week and told me that her skin was hard as a brick. It was so firm and beautiful. She said, I thank you so much for telling me about MSM. I said, I never heard of anybody taking a tablespoon 3 times a day. I've heard of people taking a teaspoon 3 times a day because their hair was falling out and their eyelashes was falling out and their skin was sagging and hanging on their body. But I have never heard of that. And I said, I hope you don't think that I told you. She said, oh no, I knew you didn't tell me that. I just was in such a hurry that I took it. And I said, did you have loose bowels? She said, not a bit. Very few people do have the loose bowels, but some people do. And one of the things that people have are ridges in their nails. And a lot of times people have ridges in their nails because they either need sulfur, so they can take the MSM. You'll find that if you take the MSM that the ridges in your nails many times disappear. But if you're low in iron, then they're not going to completely go away until you take the iron. I personally had ridges in my nails, and the sulfur never made the ridges go away. Not one single bit. And then when I got my hair analysis, I saw I was low in iron. I took the iron and the ridges have gone away. I'm talking about ridges that go this way. A lot of times if you need iron also, your nails will dip in. And if you have white spots on your nails, that's usually a copper deficiency. Of course, if you get a hair analysis, you will find out what your copper, your iron, your zinc, and what all your minerals are. Now also, MSM is wonderful to make your hair shine. I know that after I had taken the MSM for several months, I hadn't seen a friend of mine for some time, and she said, Rheda, your hair is darker, and she says, it shines. And she said, I can't believe it. And I said, well, I don't know if it makes your hair darker or not. I know that many times when people take a multimineral or when they take copper, when they're low in copper, it will make their gray hair come back to its natural color. But it takes, of course, years for it to happen. And she said, well, you look like you've had a facelift. And I said, oh yes, it's firmed up my skin quite a bit. It did that within a week. And she said, well, it really has made your hair shine. And it does. It makes your hair look very youthful, very thick, and very shiny. So sulfur is written up in the nutrition books as the beauty mineral, and it truly is the beauty mineral. Now, a lot of people have low blood pressure and high blood pressure. And believe it or not, a lot of people have high blood pressure because they're low in magnesium. But your tissue mineral test will let you know whether you have high blood pressure or not. I mean, if that is the problem, if magnesium is a problem. And also, a lot of times, if you're low in potassium, you will have high blood pressure. But I do know of people that have high blood pressure, and they took their magnesium, and they took their potassium, and they took their chromium, and they took their manganese, which their test called for, and they still had high blood pressure. But a lot of people get their high blood pressure down. If it's not a mineral deficiency, they'll get their blood pressure down with garlic. Garlic is wonderful for getting your high blood pressure down. Now, garlic also will give you the mineral germanium. And germanium is kind of an expensive mineral if you buy just the plain germanium. Germanium is wonderful for raising your immune system. So you might want to, and it also is a great blood thinner. I really think that garlic is a better blood thinner than aspirin is. I have seen people thin their blood just in nothing flat with garlic. Now, you can also thin your blood if you have, thick blood and they have to give you a blood thinner. The natural blood thinners are, vitamin E, your garlic, and but I'm not too fond of taking vitamin E to thin your blood, and I'll tell you why. Because I've noticed a lot of people that when they take vitamin E, it lowers their zinc and their magnesium. In fact, I've seen people take hair analysis and their zinc and their magnesium was pretty good, and then they get the bright idea to take vitamin E. They read some article or some book and they thought, oh, I should be taking vitamin E. And then they'll come back and get another hair analysis, and lo and behold, their magnesium and their zinc has gone way down. And I say, I bet you anything you've been taking vitamin E, and sure enough, they've been taking vitamin E. So really, don't take vitamin E unless you know that your zinc and your magnesium is real high. I mean, overly over the regular amount. So because you can really cause problems. Same way with vitamin C. Vitamin C will lower your copper. And zinc is what fights off viruses, and copper fights bacteria. And if you're taking vitamin C to so that you won't have allergies and you won't have colds and things like that, just take zinc. Zinc is what knocks out viruses, and colds are viruses. So you don't need to spend that kind of money on vitamin E. Now, there are certain people who have Parkinson's disease. And as you know, there's no cure for Parkinson's. There's a doctor in Europe that has come up with a certain bean. He raises the bean in Europe and sells it. It's quite expensive, but I've actually seen a video that shows how after you take a teaspoon of that bean extract, how your tremors from Parkinson quits. I mean, it's the most amazing thing you've ever seen. But I've also lately seen people who have Parkinson's respond to the human growth hormone. Human growth hormone is something we start losing when we're in our 20s. So very possibly, and most of the time that's when we start having Parkinson's is in our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And it's something that the medical profession doesn't have an answer to yet. They'll give you L-Dopa, which many times alleviates some of the symptoms. But I think probably they'll be investigating this human growth hormone. You can get the human growth hormone now over the counter in a homeopathically prepared formula. I personally take the human growth hormone, and I had a little bit of that in my hand. In fact, I had it so bad on Thanksgiving Day, it worried my family. And I went to the doctor and found out that it wasn't Parkinson's. It could have been, who knows, because he said there's really no test. He said he thought I was too mentally alert to have Parkinson's, because usually you lose your memory and your speech slurs, and you have stiffness in your body, and a lot of the other symptoms which I didn't have. So he said it could have been shaking from some neurological problem. But I did find in my hair analysis that I was low in iron, and iron does affect the nerves in the hands and the arms. So I no longer have it, and I take the human growth hormone in homeopathic form. It's very inexpensive. If you go to a medical doctor and get it in shots, it's very expensive. So you can do it either way you want to do it. I know of a doctor that will take a hormone profile and let you know whether you need the human growth hormone or not. And then if you need it, you can take it. Most people I know don't go and get the test because they have all the symptoms of needing human growth hormone. I didn't take the test. After I had been on it a month, my muscles became very strong. I was finding out that I was going, ugh, like this one, I'd raise things up. Now I pick things up real easily. I have more of a spring in my step. It's given me more energy. Just all the things that growth hormone are supposed to do for you. I have a list of all the symptoms of needing growth hormone. And after the program, I have a number there that you can call. I'll be glad to mail you a list of symptoms for growth hormone, which is really interesting. Over the age of 40, most people need the growth hormone to a certain extent. I have 3 daughters in their late 30s and early 40s. They take 1 human growth hormone a day. I have a mother who is 96. She takes 3 a day. It has totally saved her life. When we started her on it 3 months ago, she could hardly walk across the room with a walker because she had no strength in her body. She had no other health problems. Nobody understood why she had no strength in her body. After taking the human growth hormone for a couple of months, she is out working in her backyard now. It is the most amazing thing you've ever seen. So it is really wonderful if you need it. I would never suggest you take it, of course, unless you feel like that you have many symptoms of loss of growth hormone. Growth hormone also will make your hair thicker, make your skin nicer. The elasticity in your skin, I know used to when I do that, it would stay up like this. Now see it pops back. Before I took the growth hormone, of course it took several months for that to happen, but that will also, it will bring elasticity back in your skin. And maybe this all sounds like really vain things that you want to alleviate, but if your elasticity in your skin is bad, that means that your blood vessels are not strong like they need to be. And also, they know now that if a person loses their human growth hormone, that their heart shrinks, their lungs shrink, their liver shrinks, their brain shrinks. And once you start taking the growth hormone, all of those things return to their natural size. And they will find that their heart, I know that since I've taken it, that when I walk, I don't get out of breath like I used to. I have, it seems like my heart beats better than it used to, although I didn't have any heart trouble and I don't have any blood pressure problems. I've always had kind of low blood pressure, but in the last few years I've had normal blood pressure. Now, low blood pressure most of the time is caused by low adrenals, and many times if you get a hair analysis and take all the minerals you need, you'll find that your adrenals will start repairing themselves with all the minerals that you need, and then you'll stop having such bad low blood pressure. Exercise is something that we all need to do. And I found that if I exercise 10 minutes a day, I have a health walker. A health walker is one of those machines where you swing on it, and it really does get your cardiovascular up, and that's what I do it mostly for. That I can do that for 10 minutes several times a day, and it seems to be easier on my joints and on my legs and my feet than doing it like 30 minutes to an hour at one time. And I know Dr. Cooper out at Cooper Clinic on Preston Road in Dallas, he also suggests that 10 minutes at a time, like if you get out and walk briskly or run or do the some kind of, aerobic exercise at 10 minutes at a time is satisfactory. So maybe that'll encourage you to do more exercise. Now, posture is something that most people don't know how to take care of. There is a new therapy, and there has been a book that's written on these different exercises that you do. And most people have neck and shoulder pain. I know many people say that if you'll reach back and touch where the pain is and then push your finger in it real hard for about 15 to 20 seconds and then take it away. That'll alleviate the pain. But I found that that doesn't work as good as something that I'm going to show you that most people don't know. Now, you know, most of us are like this, and our heads are like this. Well, in this book, there is a posture that if you'll stand up, put your toes pigeon-toed, you stand up straight, put your toes, your big toes together and stand real pigeon-toed, and then pull your shoulders back real far for 5 minutes. You're going to be so shocked how it straightens up your body. And after you do that every day for several days, you are going to walk with your hands hanging down to your side instead of all drooped over like this. And even though you sit all day, if you'll be conscious of throwing your shoulders back, you will soon train yourself to sit up straight and to always put a pillow behind you so that you will sit up straight. This book shows you how to align your body so that your hips are no longer cattywampus, that your back, in fact, my daughter had a real bad lower back pain. She's been operated on, but she just can't seem to get rid of it. And she'll go to a particular chiropractor, and it'll alleviate it for a while. But she told me that since she's been doing this position where you stand real pigeon-toed, stand up real straight, and pull this back and hold it for 5 minutes every day, she said it's helped her back more than anything she's done. And the physiologist who teaches this in Del Mar, California, he also says that it works, and it does work. I have seen many people do it. Now, for people whose, you know, their shoulders are rounded and their head is out like this, if you will put the balls of your feet, like this is a step, and you put the balls of your feet, like your toes or the balls of your feet right here, and hang your heels off like this as far as you can and hold that position for 5 minutes. It will pull your neck back and you will walk straight from then on. Now sometimes it takes a few times, but I told a woman who is a postwoman, and I was saying, turn around and let me see the side of you. Well, her neck was out like this because she sits and she works with the mail all day long and puts it in people's boxes. And she's a young woman. She's in her middle 30s. So I said, would you like to try something for that? And she said, yes. And I took her to the step right then and showed her. I took her to the step outside and had her stand that way for 5 minutes. And her neck pulled out, and she has never had to do it since. She has been straight ever since then. Well, I guess I've covered about everything I know. If you have any questions, please call me. I've really enjoyed sharing with you all the different natural ways that you can help yourself. And of course, from time to time, I will find out other things, and I will be glad to share them with you. Thank you so much for listening, and bye.